The sponsor has been identified, but unlike most television programs, the performer hasn't been provided with a script. As a matter of fact, I have been permitted to choose my own words and discuss my own ideas regarding the choice that we face.
Welcome to the Open Train of Thought podcast. I'm Sam Blue Sr. We believe that understanding begins with listening, even when those opinions are different, which is why we encourage open dialogue on the issues that impact our communities, culture, education, politics, and future. So thank you for joining us for a real conversation with real perspectives and real people. So sit back, get comfortable, and join the conversation as we take a ride on the Open Train of Thought podcast. Our special guest today is Tanya Helt, a dynamic media personality known for her authenticity, confidence, and thought-provoking perspectives on relationships, self-worth, and personal growth. How you doing, Tanya?
I'm good. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you for setting this time aside. I wanted to see if you wanted to just take a second to tell the viewers about yourself, and then we'll get into our disclaimer and get started.
Yeah. Like you said, I am the creator of Tanya Talks. I talk about personal healing, growth, relationships. Sometimes I do funny videos. Also, hopefully soon to be published author. I'm working on my book called Product of My Circumstances, and it is the story about my life.
All right, that sounds good. And also, there's something about a book I've heard. Could you talk about that some?
Oh, yeah. So Product of My Circumstance. It's about my life and going through trauma at a young age and how basically I survived that and dealt with that and how it formed who I am today and how it impacted relationships that I had as I got older. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And before we dig into the first question, I'm going to go ahead and play a legal disclaimer.
Okay.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Views expressed are those of the host and guest and do not represent any organizations. Discussions on politics, policies, and current events are based on opinions and available information, which may change. This podcast does not provide professional advice, so listeners should research and verify information independently. Host and guests are not liable for any decisions or outcomes based on the content.
All right. So I wanted to do a podcast about relationships, which is what we did last week. But on this one, I wanted to kind of like focus more on those that aren't in serious relationships, but also give people a women's perspective as well as a man's perspective. So the first question I wanted to ask you, from what your experience and people you've spoken to, when it comes to dating and selecting someone that you choose to go out with a date with, are we rejecting good people because we're chasing perfections instead of real compatibility? What are your thoughts on that?
I believe we are. Well, not for me, but other people. I think in this society now, today, in the way that people date nowadays, they're looking for perfection. They're looking for they want the perfect human. Like they want they want everybody to be all together. In actuality, that's nobody's perfect. Nobody's all the way healed. Nobody's all the way, together. And I think they don't really, I think this generation doesn't really value relationships like they did back in the day.
Oh, definitely. I feel that same way. I think that the dynamics has definitely changed. And with speaking about the compatibility, do you think that most people, um, which is a better option for people just to casually date, or if you know that, okay, I want to be at this point in 5 years, I want to be married, or I want to be at this point, I want to be at that point, to go ahead, hit the ground running, or just to take your time, and if it happens, it happens.
So I would say nowadays, like I said, with everybody's train of thought, nowadays, I would say take your time in vetting the person. You have to ask questions. And I think a lot of people don't ask the most important questions. Like, they get together, they just want to know about, they ask the simple questions. What do you do for work? They want to know how much money a person makes. They don't ask questions about trauma, past traumas, mental health history. Are we on the same page? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I can't really speak about not moving quickly because I married my husband in 5 months. So we got married in 5 months. So it was pretty fast. It's like we knew we wanted to be together.
Oh, I understand that. I tell my wife I knew in a couple months. It just took a few more to propose, but I tell people, when you know, you know. But if you have any doubt, to hold off a little. But let me ask you, you mentioned about talking about trauma, talking about things that may have happened in the past. Do you think you should disclose that like soon? And because sometimes I think when you unload a whole lot, it that may be a red flag, for someone, like they're not even over whatever they've gone through. So what do you think about that?
So I do think that unloading too quickly is a red flag. But if you are dating somebody, and I wouldn't say like immediately, like I said, back in the day, me and my husband got married in 5 months. Now
Mhm.
it's a different scene. I got married in 99. I was married for 24 years. Now it's a different scene. Now I wouldn't, like, my husband knew about my past traumas. And the reason why I say ask about those things, because those things, whether you think so or not, they will come up if they're not healed in you. And if you haven't unpacked that baggage, they affect your relationships, whether it's a intimate relationship or a friendship or with family, they still do affect your relationship if you don't heal from that. So that's why I say it does need to be talked about. Does it need to be talked about right away? Probably not. But
Right.
if you're moving toward that goal and you have been with somebody for a year or 8 months, I think it
Mhm.
is an important subject to discuss, maybe even at 6 months, because what if that person still has triggers? What if,
Yeah.
and you don't know why, you did something and you don't know why that person is reacting the way they're reacting.
Yeah.
It's because of something they haven't dealt with or healed from. So, yeah, I think it is something that needs to be discussed upfront, probably not, but somewhere along the line.
Well, I think from my perspective, I think that a lot of people, if they speak on the phone a lot, you actually can get a lot from a person versus the first time just meeting, like blind dates. I think that's kind of like the double-edged sword of blind dates. You haven't had a buffer to like fill the person out. Because I think when you mention 5 months, I personally think that if somebody is right for you within 90 days. Like if they're that person, I personally feel like like if they are or if they're not. And I think anytime it goes past that 90 days, it's possibly that, okay, well, this is a red flag, but we can bypass that. So before you comment, I want you to comment also while addressing this next question.
Oh God. Okay.
What's the biggest dating red flag people ignore today that almost always causes problems later? So hopefully what I responded to, we're going into the second question.
So consistency would be the biggest red flag.
Okay.
But I don't remember the the last part of what you said
Oh
about the
no.
other question.
Yeah, so it's in dating, what are red flags that people ignore?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Consistency. I think people give a lot of I don't even want to say they give grace. I think they just don't care as
Mhm.
as much as they used to. And I feel like they ignore the consistency because there's too many options out here. So, I think for me, I'll speak for myself. Like when I see somebody who is not consistently trying to date me, I don't
Mm.
like when somebody would try to hit me up and then I don't hear from them for like 2 weeks, but they try to love bomb me all in one session, and then I don't
Mhm.
hear from them, and then it's like, okay, you're not even consistent. So I think consistency, but if you're attracted to that person, you might ignore that. You might be like,
Mm.
oh, well, you're focusing on the looks. Or well, he's so cute or she's so beautiful. And so they ignore that consistency aspect. And if somebody's showing you in the beginning that they're not a consistent person, guess what? Throughout the relationship, they're probably not going to be a consistent person.
Mhm.
You have to
Oh,
date with intention.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that is one of the biggest thing. And also it's kind of like the saying, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Right.
So if someone shows you that they're not consistent, believe them, they're not consistent. And most of the time when it comes to certain traits, to me, being consistent is something you don't just wake up one day and you're consistent.
That
It's
part.
something like it reflects time management, it reflects planning, it reflects things that you, when you're trying to do something, you make sure it happens. And I think when
Right.
people lack that, what you're saying, when they lack that, those are things that, okay, well, Valentine's coming up, I'll just get a card, or I'll just shoot a text, happy Valentine's Day, something where they're not intentional, not
There's
just
no thought
consistent.
behind it.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So when we do things, and we're talking about like screening and watching out for red flags, has has social media and dating apps made it harder to build genuine long-term relationships? What do you feel on that?
Like I said, there's too many options. There's so many options. Back in my day, how we used to meet the opposite sex was we was outside. We were
Mhm.
outside. We couldn't go on and tap at the keyboard and just meet 500 people
Mhm.
in one spot. We were outside. We were meeting people walking down the street. Hey, yo. And they pull the car over and we start chatting. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it
Yeah.
was a totally different time in dating. Now it's so easy to have access to people all over the world.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think, yeah, and it causes a lot of problems in relationships because people don't have self-control.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I see a lot of people that use dating apps, but I think some people use it as their sole tool, the only tool they use. They
Mhm.
don't they're lazy with it,
Yeah,
and of course, it's screening out potential, this is the one, or potential this isn't the one. But I think it has kind of made people a little lazier and kind of
absolutely.
spoiled. Like, I don't need to work. If we met on this app, then
It
okay.
took away the whole art of flirting.
Yeah,
Women
like
don't know how to flirt anymore. Men don't know how to flirt and woo you, or like whatever they want to call it nowadays. Like you said, it's lazy.
now this is just a follow-up question. So would you put that more on the men or the women for not knowing or wanting to flirt anymore?
I want to say it's really both. I don't think men feel like they have to put as much effort in, but I think the women, and this is just based on what I see on social media and the videos that I see coming across my page, I think the women have become very selfish in a way. Um, they they're not looking for a connection, and then men aren't either. I mean, like I said, it could go both ways. They're not looking for that true connection. Some are just looking for quick hookups, or
Mhm.
who can take care of me, you know,
Yeah.
where's the stability, you know what I mean?
Well, to me, it's the women. Women have the power. That's we have a viewer that commented, said it's both. With me, I feel it's women. Women have all the power. Women have all the control. And I think the reason why a lot of men have slacked off on how they flirt or the pursuit is because women have made it too easy. And because a guy can only go as far as the woman will let them go. Would you agree with that or not?
Um, yes, yes, that's true. Cause, but men, if the man is respectable, some men, they get very, if they get turned down, they get very defensive. But yeah, they can only go as far as a woman would allow them. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and I just think, when just in conversations around the barbershop and you hear people talking, and even in like some shows, they have all these shows like Dating Blind and Love Island, and
Right.
they have all these things. And to me, that kind of like programs more women watch those shows than men, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
you're right.
So it's kind of like programming them that this is how it should be. This is how it should go. And I think if we get back to the old ways, like it used to, especially in the Black community, it used to be a lot of arranged relationships. It was Indians, they call them arranged marriages. But people think, okay, it's somebody that you've never met, but all of a sudden you're supposed to marry. And it's not like that. When they do it, the father basically vets the man, and they have all these conversations, and the conversation with the daughter is kind of like limited. But then once the father gives that clearance, then you have like the whole family, and I think it reflects in their marriages. Like they have one of the lowest divorce rates. Y-
Now,
you
Sam,
know,
I don't know about all that arranged marriage. I don't know
well,
about all that.
well, that's the thing. When I mention arranged marriage, for us here in America, the way we grow up, we're like it's somebody else picking who we want. But I have a friend that their marriage was arranged, and she was over in India, and he basically family members introduced them, like some of the family that came here and said, oh, he's a nice guy. So they kind of like talked on the phone, they text back and forth. Their phone calls were limited, I think, to like 5 minutes. So when they got on the phone, it was all about, you know what is it called, kind of like fishing for information, but you were limited on your time. And then
Mm,
the father get on the phone. So basically, once you get past the father, who's the gatekeeper, then the other family starts like, okay, I like Prim, he's cool, he's nice. And then that's when the courtship starts. is like time, but I think right now everybody wants to rush it. Everybody wants it like right now. Do you think that's true or not?
I mean, I think some people want it right now for not good reasons. You know what I'm saying? Some people's intentions are not good intentions. But going back to what you said about the Love Island and all of that stuff, I really had an issue too with these podcasts coming out, giving these men this advice. And I think it caused a divide between the men and the women. Instead of saying right is right and wrong is wrong, it was like, no, what was his name? The one that passed away.
Kevin Samuels.
Evan Samuels.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he caused an uproar it was like the battle of the sexes. I mean, and a broken clock is right twice a day. He did have some points that I agreed with, but it was like, my God, the divide he caused. But as far as like arranged marriages, they do have a show, and I was watching it. It was I think it was called like Indian Matchmaker or something like that. Like it was a matchmaking show, and it showed the process on how they, do it. But they had the option. She would go and find two people and send you guys on dates, but they, would get to know each other, and they had the option. They didn't really leave it up to, they asked the parents for advice, but I couldn't imagine my parents picking my spouse.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I don't think they're picking. I think they're vetting. That's
And,
the
and vetting, there's nothing wrong with vetting,
yeah,
but
that's so when I speak to people that are Asian or Indian, they are so happy that my father cleared this strong guy for me, or this provider, this it's, to me, I think we take words sometimes literally when it's kind of like a whole lot of context behind it. Like,
right,
I have a lot of cousins that wish the uncles would have vetted who they ended up with, you know,
right.
like they wish, like they need the gatekeepers. And I think it's the same way where you have a male and the parents want them to start dating and eventually, have a family. And I think they also do vetting. The girl has to go through the mother,
Yeah.
and get vetted. Like, you need to connect because we're gonna be a family like forever. Like, we're
Well,
gonna be in your lives. So
right.
what do you think?
Well, I think that first of all, um, I do understand the vetting process. Yes. And that's okay. They're not actually picking. But those situations, I mean, like, I just don't understand how you can really know, because you never know what's really truly in somebody's head. You really never know what's really truly in somebody's head. And I know um a lady that I used to work with, she was Indian, and she divorced her husband that her parents picked for her
Mhm.
because it didn't work out. And she's a successful doctor, but like, you just never truly know what's in somebody's head. That's number one. Number two, not everybody has such great home life growing up that they would even trust their parents to pick or vet somebody well enough for them. Like, I would never, knowing my childhood and what I went through, I would never let my mother vet anybody for me.
Okay, so we have a comment from Julian. I will never let my parents pick for me, and I would never do it for my kids, which I understand. Then he commented, so what if you listen to uncle, parents, or family members and everything goes left? Whose fault is that? Could I answer that first and you can give some feedback?
Yeah.
I didn't say, when I was speaking of Indians, and I'm just using them because the vetting is a part of their culture. Um, I didn't say they don't get divorced, but they have, here in the US, they have the lowest, like literally the lowest divorce rate.
Mhm.
So there are some, But when you compare them to the Black community, you compare them to the white community, you compare them to the Italian community, like they're literally number one as far as having the lowest divorce rate.
You're right.
Asian, so I think for the most part, to me, vetting helps. Like, I'll put it this way: my wife, she may not know this, right? But people that were in my circle vetted her. Like, my god sisters, my godparents, like, and I knew they really connected with her because anytime like I was back from a deployment or something, they would like, hey, Dareema's in town or Dareema's coming over, and I even remember being at like a New Year's, it was some type of event where one of the younger cousins, my mother made her get up just so I could sit next to my wife.
Mm.
Like she may not know this, and so they vetted her.
Well, I mean, technically, we really do vet our own people. We might not do a good job nowadays, but yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But it is good to have a team. I understand what you're saying, like your family behind you, but not everybody has that. Not everybody has that support. Not everybody has that tribe. I have nobody here in North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
not everybody has that tribe or that family, but it is good to have people around that have your back.
Yeah, I think just like when women, they have their girlfriends they hang out with, they go out, they party, they drink, that's
Mm-hmm.
their girls.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times where I think the girls that they're around, and it happens to men too. They're all single, so they're all having fun. They're going doing what they do, and everybody is like really supportive. And then one of them, whether male or female, one of them meets somebody. They start
Mm-hmm.
dating. So now they don't hang out on Fridays. They want to be with who they're dating. They don't do this. They want to be with who they're dating. So sometimes you have friends that are very supportive in that,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have some of those friends that are like, you better watch him. You better, because they have the saying, misery loves company.
Yep.
We all good when we all down and out, but soon as one begins to fly, because I think the men and women that are single, the other ones are like, this is my girl, this is my boy, and now he's no longer going to be in the fold because
Mm-hmm.
he done got with this girl. We don't got our fishing days no more on Saturdays. We don't have this because he wrapped around her finger. So I think it can be a double-edged sword, but I think that let me see, Simone wrote, vetting helps in my opinion because your circle knows you and love you. I believe they are able to see things we're not able to see and provide wise counsel. So one thing about my family is they'll ask me a question, or let's say my friends, not even my family, because my family, I'm just straight up like he sucks or she sucks. But I always ask people, do you want me to tell you what I'm supposed to say as a friend, or do you want me to tell you how I really feel? And when they say, "Oh, tell me how you really feel," that's all I want. And then as soon as I say how I really feel, they're like, "Oh, well, what was the answer with just being a friend and being supportive?" Like if there's a big age gap, I'm like, and it varies by age. Like a 20-year-old being with a 40-year-old is a whole lot different from a 40-year-old being with a 60-year-old.
Right.
So I'm like, we have to have stuff in common. We have to be able to speak. We have to be able to do certain things.
Right.
And because a lot of times I think one of the red flags may be when you mentioned earlier about being intentional and being consistent. I think one thing with being with those are compromise. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have like the woman willing to compromise a whole lot of things. But the guy is like, no matter what, I'm going out with my boys on Friday. I'm going out. Oh, we can't go. Like everything circles his boys and not the woman he's dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of women that will ignore that because they like him so much.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
what do you think?
we love to dance with red flags. I mean, when you're unhealed, and that goes back to the trauma that you've dealt with in the past. When you're unhealed and you don't work on you, and you just go from one relationship to the other, to the other, to the other, you're carrying baggage into other relationships. And so yeah, we'll dance around with some red flags like we, in a circus. But it's important, like Simone said, to get the opinions of your friends. But like you said, not all friends are gonna be rooting for your relationship, especially if you stop hanging out with them and you stop, but there has to be a balance. That happened to me. I was hanging out with my friends. I was going out all the time. And then I met somebody.
Yeah.
And when I'm in a single me and relationship me are totally two different people. So, once I met that person, I was all about that person. But then I kind of lost myself because I didn't have that balance, and it was every now and then I was seeing my friends. Every now and then, we would talk, but we weren't really getting together and still having that like girlfriend, time. So there has to definitely be a balance. And me and my husband, we were together all the time. We did everything together. And I didn't really have a lot of friendships. I really did stop hanging out with a lot of my friends and stuff, but I was married, it was different.
Yeah.
But I feel like you still do need that balance. But I'm the type of friend that if you ask me, I'm not going to ask you, do you want me to tell you as a friend? Because as a friend, I need to tell you the truth. And if I'm not truthful to you, then I'm really not your friend. So you get the unfiltered everything that I feel.
Yeah. I think the way I look at when it comes to the title of friends, I look at you have friends. To some people, you're their friend, but to a lot of people, you're their opportunity. Like I tell people, you have to manifest in silence. When
Oh, yes.
you go to you post on Instagram, oh, I got this or I got that. Now you're getting all of a sudden out the blue, you're getting phone calls. And people are calling saying, oh, I want you to be my mentor, because they see that you close on a house or something. And it's like they don't want you to mentor them to show them the work. They want to get there faster.
Yeah, they want your energy. They want to feed off of you.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like calling people friends, I think I have maybe my friends I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
But as far as people that perceive me as opportunity, it's probably 20 or 30. And sometimes my wife will get on me because sometimes I'll pick up the phone, and if it's somebody I haven't spoken to forever and all they call about is when they needed something, I'll pick up instead of saying hello, I'm like, hey, what you need? I just do that. And then, oh no, I ain't need nothing. I was just calling to check on you. You my boy. But then I said, okay, well, I'm doing something right now. Oh, real quick. Hey, do you think you can help me with this? So I said, you should have led with that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I can be a little cold because I just see that flag that people will perceive people as opportunity. And before I go to the next one, let me see Sweet Thunder. I'm not sure male or female. It says Sweet Thunder, but consistency is key, which I agree. Simone says dance with red flags, like the analogy. Miss Tanya, why do we as women dance with red flags in your opinion? Ooh, that's a good one.
I think Women, we are more of the emotional creature, and we wear our heart on our sleeves, and we want love. Most of us, I won't say all of us, because some of us have different intentions than others. Most of us want love, and we seek that validation. So sometimes we are willing to accept, um, you know, what is given to us. And especially if you're not healed, and I keep going back to that because it's really important that you heal yourself before because if you don't love you and how can you love somebody else? If you don't fully love yourself and you don't like everything about yourself, you can't pour into somebody else. And so I think that we wear our heart on our sleeves, and most men, I don't want to say all, most men are emotionally unavailable, and women are very emotionally available. We are all about the emotions. We are all about the love and and so like when we really are feeling somebody and we're really like into them, like me, I'm so loyal, and sometimes I stayed in situations way longer than I should have. And you just don't want to let go. So you take the red flag and you see it, and you're like, well, maybe it's pink, and just put it in your pocket. Okay, I'll just keep that over here. And then another red flag comes, and it's just like, all right, well, and then next thing you know, you got a handful of red flags, but you're so far in that you don't know how to let go, and you don't want to let go. So you just sit there dancing around with the red flags, and you keep taking more and more on. And it's just the way we are built sometimes when we don't heal and we don't value ourselves and we don't know our self-worth.
Okay, so let me ask you. So when does a red flag become the deal breaker? And should every warning sign end a relationship, or can some be worked through?
So the deal breaker is abuse, for me. Anything that is abusive, I think should definitely be a deal breaker. If it's to the point where they're putting their hands on you, that's not even a red flag. That's You've crossed the line, you've crossed the boundary, you've gone too far. That's definitely the deal breaker. Um, my biggest pet peeve is lying to me, um, because you're insulting my intelligence. And I'm the type of person, like, I'm a really observant person, and I'm
Yeah.
always 10 steps ahead. And I think that goes back to growing up in survival mode all the time. So I'm always, I'm just very observant. And so if I notice something and I know you're lying, and then I don't say anything, but then you lie again and you lie, it just irritates my whole entire soul. So I think lying is definitely a constant lying. Like, oh, okay, if you lied once and yeah, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. I should have told you, or I should have, I think withholding information is also lying. Um, so that constantly, that is a deal breaker. Um, Cheating, definitely a deal breaker.
So what?
Can
Give
it
me
be
an
worked through?
example. Yeah, give me an example of a red flag that you think could be worked through.
I mean, playing devil's advocate, I mean, I guess it could go both ways. If you lied, like I said, and you apologize, I guess that would be a red flag that you could work through. Some people forgive cheating. I've gotten back with people that cheated on me. It's hard to get that trust back, though. I don't think it's ever really the same. Um, so I think that's a red flag that, some people, they work through it.
Yeah. Simone says abuse and deceit are definitely deal breakers for me.
Absolutely.
And hey, Ginger, it's I was wondering who a profile. It just had a username, but so let's go to the next question. What after trust is broken?
Mm.
how can it be rebuilt after betrayal? Is forgiveness enough, or are there wounds too deep to heal?
Wounds definitely need to heal. And I will say, speaking from my experience, trust was broken in a situation, and it it took me a really long time, to the point where I had anxiety. Like,
Mm,
I didn't trust anything. I had anxiety because I felt like I had to, and I should have left the situation, but it was it was eating at me. And I don't know if I'm just the type of person that I say, "Oh, I can get over it," but then I'm it's like you're always looking over your shoulder.
yeah.
Like, looking at every receipt that's in the house. Oh, did he lie? Was he really where he said he was? And
Yeah.
it takes a lot to build back that trust with me. And I know a lot of women that it takes a lot to build back that trust. And men too. I think it's worse for men when men get heartbroken. I think women are more forgiving than men are. Once a man knows that his woman has been with somebody else, oh my God, not even sexually, on a date, talk to, anything, y'all just like, woo.
Well, well, you know why, right?
I've heard things.
Okay. So this is how men think. Men's men by design are critical thinkers. Analyze, sometimes overanalyze, but if a man steps out, it can be a big button a smile. Like that's all he sees. Like it's more physical. Like it's
Yeah.
not nothing inside. But the way that women are, they're more spiritual.
Hmm.
So that man knows that in order for her to go out on that date or lay down with this other dude, it wasn't just I went to the club one night and it just happened. It's like they've been on the phone, because for women, you have to become intimate. Like, and to get to a certain part, I think. So I
Right.
think that's the reason. From the man's point of view, I think that's the reason. Men know that women want intimacy.
Hmm.
And when you talk on the phone, that's why I tell people, like, when you're sharing stuff, you ask a guy what's intimacy, and then you ask a woman what's intimacy. The man's like, oh, after we clapped it up, I just hold her. I'm being intimate.
You're right.
That. But then
Right.
the woman, you ask her, oh, just we talked on the phone for like 3 hours. We talked on the phone for all this time, and we weren't even breathing. Like we were like there was a show called The Pains when me and my
Hmm.
wife we were doing our courtship and stuff, and we would literally watch episodes on the phone.
Same.
That's intimacy.
That's intimacy. That's bonding.
You
That's,
know, but
yeah.
but that's the difference. Men is just physical. Women is more like, are you hearing me? Are you
Right.
seeing me?
Right.
And I think that's the reason why one is forgiven more than the other, because they
Yeah,
know
men.
what it took for them to cross that line.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I heard. And then the other saying is men don't like a spoon in they pot, another spoon in they pot, you know. But I mean, you're right. Intimacy looks different between men and women. It really does. We value the small little things, the holding the hands, the conversations, the forehead kisses. The opening the
Mhm.
door, the considerations, the remembering what's my favorite food. That's all the things that women really like. It's the small things. It really doesn't take much. And men make it so difficult. They think it does, but it really doesn't. And I understand what you're saying when you say men it's physical, but that still doesn't fly with me.
Oh, I'm not justifying that by any
Oh no,
means,
no,
but
I know. I'm just saying, like, yeah, because I hear men say that a lot, and I'm like, Okay, but then us women, we internalize that because then we're looking at the woman that they went with and we're like, and we're looking at ourselves, and then that, that causes more issues with us within internally.
And men don't think about that. They just
Mm-mm.
and gender says women have to have a connection, men don't.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was saying about women are spiritual. If you go to a church, there's normally 3 to 4 times as many women at that church than there are men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that um let me see, Simone wrote, how about remembering the anniversary and being intentional about keeping the fire burning in the relationship?
Oh yeah, big
I,
one.
I think that has to do along with being consistent. Um, it's always good to have that police outfit, in the closet,
Oh yeah,
and
always got to keep it spicy.
I think it's one of those things that I tell people, like, as long as me and my wife have been together, I have been 3 or 4 different personalities. Because with age, I'm not the same Sam I was at 21.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
none
the
of
same
us
Sam
are.
at 30. I'm not
Yeah,
just at 40 or even at 50.
right,
And she's probably been 7 or 8 different personalities.
right.
So, I take it as a way of getting to know somebody new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me not be lazy and let me try to, focus on this new personality.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, because of certain things, they've become lazy, as we were saying. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes into so modern dating standards is that empowering people, or are we creating unrealistic expectations that will keep people single?
I think it's definitely unrealistic expectations. I get so disappointed with some of these women that I see that, oh, he can't take me to Cheesecake Factory. He can't, I need a
Mhm.
man that makes 6 figures. I need this, I need that. It's unrealistic. There's more women in this world than there are men, so
Yeah.
it's really unrealistic. You don't want the connection. You want what he can do for you. You want him to take care of you. Um, and men, they sometimes are unrealistic too, but I see a lot more men that are willing to date the girl that works at the drive-through, that are willing, they don't care what the woman does. They want the connection. There's a lot of good men out there that really just still want the connection. And now I see a lot of women out here that are really dating for the wrong reasons. They have really high and strange expectations.
Yeah, I think for one, um, I think when I mentioned earlier about women making it too easy for men, I think that's starting the dating apps and all that stuff. That's going into like the laziness. But now you have, let's say on a scale to 1 to 10, a female is a 3 or 4. And they're getting flown out to Vegas, or they're getting flown out, and like it goes both ways with making it too easy.
Hmm.
And I think that, I'm more of a traditional person. And I feel like, as Simone says, too many people get comfortable in relationships and stop caring once they get married or after the honeymoon phase. I don't think they necessarily stop caring. I think they just become complacent. They
Hmm.
begin to get used to just going through the motions.
Hmm.
And I see that a lot. And I think that when they do that, it's like, okay, any relationship requires 2 sides. Like, it's always, okay, I'm not doing this, but what have you done to kind of like spark it? Or
Hmm.
like, we all know each other. And I think that's the biggest to me, that's one of the red flags. But before I forget, you had mentioned about the guy dating a girl at the drive-thru. And then another female may say, oh, she work at a drive-thru. Why is he with her? I'm a doctor. The thing that some women don't understand is men don't care about that.
Mm-mm.
And for a lot of men, a red flag is when a female touts degrees, touts all these things. Men don't care about that.
Mm-mm.
Like they're looking for a person that's going to give them peace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and peace may not be like, okay, we smoke weed together or we do this together. That's not always peace. Like my wife knows my peace is like cutting the grass, like just being outside,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So she will give me that peace sometimes. Sometimes she'll just go and she'll sit there and watch me while I'm doing it. But that's what men look for. They look for peace. Like there was something on TikTok or Instagram I saw where the guy got home and he was sleeping in the car. And then the wife comes out and she's fussing him out.
Yeah.
He's like, this is why I'm in the car, because listen to you.
Yeah.
Men just want peace.
Yeah.
Peace doesn't come with a PhD. It doesn't come with a master or undergrad. It doesn't even come with a 6-figure job. It comes with, when I get home, am I going to want to stay in the car and sleep, or am I going to want to come in the house?
Right.
So I tell women that if he gets home at 5:00 and you look out that window and it's 5:30, look at yourself like he's out there unwinding, but you should be the one to help him unwind from work, to
Right.
calm him, to relax him, to scratch his back, something just to calm him. What do you think?
Well, I will say, I told you earlier, I like to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I will say, yes, men do want peace. Absolutely. They say they want peace. Now, there are some men that say they want peace, but cause all the chaos and get upset with the reaction. So you can want peace, but are you giving peace as well? Are you leading in the right direction to have that peace? Because a lot of men can say, I want peace, but doing stuff not to get that peace. And then there's women that are never satisfied as well. That's the opposite side. No matter what your man does, he could be a hardworking man, be out there every single day, getting up, providing for the family, but you're just never satisfied. You like to argue. You want the drama, So it can go both ways. But I've seen with my own eyes that men say they want peace, and there's a lot of men that don't. They don't create the environment for the peace.
Yeah. Julian says, I think growth in life plays a lot in it. It can be rebuilt, but in time. The reason why it's harder on men because men deal with pride. I can agree with that. Simone said yes to what you said, and she also said some men provoke too and create chaos.
Absolutely.
What I'll say to that is, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. You have some men that are literally telling a woman, I'm this way, and she doesn't go nowhere. So that empowers him to do even more. And then you have some men that want drama. They don't really want it, but they don't want to say the breakup was because of them. They can always, so they'll start just dumb arguments just to do something so they can say, well, you the one who left me.
Right.
I didn't. You left me.
You left me. Because you get to your limit. They will push the female so far to her limit that she's like, bump it, I'm out of here. And then, he looks like the victim. Meanwhile,
and he can chill now. Hey, dude, she's gone. Hey, we having a boy.
Right, we outside.
And that's, and I think that's the thing right there. But it's also, that's why I think this is a good conversation for things to be pointed out to help people, like kind of like say, hey, this the dude I'm dating, he's doing like he'll just make up something like your drawers is black, not white. What's up with that? Like
Yeah,
it's kind of like, okay, now it's opening your eyes to like, okay, is this something that can be fixed, or is there something that I can do, or is it something that none of us can improve on?
right.
So I think that's really really important. But I want to ask you, what qualities matter most when looking for the one, and overlook traits that may be more important than the attraction.
So for me, um, I want first of all, I want a man that's gonna pray for me. I want a God-fearing
Mhm.
man. Um, I want somebody who's honest, transparent. Let me fix that. I want somebody who's transparent because they can say, well, I didn't tell you, but like I said earlier, I think withholding the truth is also lying. So I want transparency. And I want somebody who's driven, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be a six-figure guy because I married my husband and we got married with bands, didn't even have a diamond, didn't have a wedding, went to the Justice of the Peace. We were like literally building our life from scratch. You know that Martin episode, you got to go back to scratch. I mean, it was scratch. Like we had nothing. So so I'm not, in my older age now, yeah, would I like somebody who's stable and all of that? Yeah, that'd be great. But I want somebody who's affectionate, who listens, who's caring and loving. And, those are important qualities. Who's ready to settle down, because you can say you want something, but if you're still craving attention from the village, you're not ready to be in a relationship. If you're gonna wanna
Mhm.
still go out there and see what's out there, you know, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want that.
Yeah. Ginger says when a man is interested in me, he has to put in real effort, and he has to be consistent. If he can't do those two things, that's a red flag. If he can, then she'll reciprocate those things.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think our relationships should be based off reciprocation.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
because that's what keep you on your toes. That's
Mhm.
what, like, there was some times where it's been a long time where we hadn't gone like on a date night or something like that. And I'm like, man, I dropped the ball on that. So now instead of going on date night, I need to take her to Charlotte for the weekend.
Right, right,
Like
right,
I just can't do like a little bit. I got to do a whole lot,
right,
to like get my balance in the love bank back up.
right.
So I think it's just acknowledgement, but I think like Julian said earlier, it's something we get with age. Like I wouldn't think about relationships like when I was 20 the way I think of them now.
Absolutely. I was gonna say that earlier. When I was younger, and even after my separation from my husband and I got into another relationship, I, again, I wasn't all the way healed.
Mhm.
And the mouth I had back then, I definitely have changed and grown into a better person now that I'm about to be 50 and on Monday. Um,
Welcome
you
to the
know,
club.
oh my God. I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Um, but the way I used to handle things, like my mouth would cut like a sword. And
Mm.
if you hurt me, I was gonna tear you down with my words. And it was horrible. And in my last relationship, and you know, God, we were together in 2016. I had said some terrible things and I had to sit with myself and I prayed to God and I was like, God, and I had to work on things that reason why I would always get loud and yell and react in certain ways. Not saying that he didn't do things to get those reactions out of me,
Yeah.
but I had to take accountability for my part, even though he was doing things to get those reactions out of me. I could have controlled my reactions. And so now
Mhm.
when I deal with things differently. I can proudly say that I've worked on me and I have changed the way that I react to things because yeah, back then it was not a good look. And that's why I say it's so important to heal, because you will look at relationships differently. You will go about things differently. Once you grow and you heal, and you'll have a healthier relationship with people, not only intimate relationships, but friendships, family, you have to work on you. You have to take accountability for where you lack in certain areas.
Okay. Well, you mentioned accountability. And there's a stigma when it comes to women that's like kryptonite. And there used to be a show called Fear Factor.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they had these 4 women standing up there, and then they're like, "Okay, this is the last challenge. Whoever wins this one, whoever makes it through this challenge wins $1,000,000." So he unveils the prize, he snaps the sheet off, and it's the words accountability.
Oh,
And then one of the women says, "Oh, hell no." And and then the other one's like, I can't. Like, nobody makes it for $1,000,000. So that's the
wow.
stigma, I think, with women. But since we're talking about accountability, I want to move it more towards self-accountability.
Mm.
So if someone keeps attracting the wrong partners, is the problem the dating pool, or are they missing red flags in themselves?
I think it could be a little bit of both, but a lot of the times it's the red flags in yourself. You don't want to view yourself. And if you've come out of a toxic relationship or a bad relationship or just a regular relationship, relationships are mirrors.
Mhm.
So, you're going to see things in that person. They're going to mirror, you're going to be away, and that person's going to mirror that back to you. So if you can't look at yourself and you think, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, it's never me, then there's definitely something wrong with you. Because
Mhm.
again, nobody's perfect. And I knew that I had to sit with myself and go back and be like, I should never have said that to that man. That was terrible. I should have never reacted that way. That was horrible. And I even, I had to go back and apologize, because that was in me. That was my heart. I was like, I'm so sorry. I
Mhm.
should have never reacted that way. No matter what you did, I should have never reacted that way. And so, yeah, it's hard for women to take accountability. But for me, I have worked on myself, and I could proudly say that, yes, I take account. And I always, if I'm wrong about something, I'll say, oh yeah, I messed up. I shouldn't have did that.
Yeah, and with saying that, I think there's a lot of women that say, and I'm not necessarily talking about you, but there's a
No,
lot
yeah.
of women that say they're accountable, but it's almost like a guy says, "I don't cheat," but then he's with different women every week.
Yeah.
Like,
No, absolutely. I
we
agree.
can,
Because I see it all the time up and down my timeline. These videos
yeah,
that come out and stuff, and it's wild.
yeah, and Ginger says it's self-sabotage because they continue to do the same thing over and over. And Letitia says, no, they should self-reflect. My granny told me years ago I had to fix and heal self first to keep from attracting certain types of men. I did, and hubby and I have been married for 22 years this July.
Absolutely. It's
Um,
always good to
all right.
self-reflect.
Yeah, so that's the thing when it comes to um the accountability side. And when you had mentioned Kevin Samuels earlier, like, I used to watch him because to me, he would bring people to reality. And people think he was just a pit boy at women. Oh, he used to dog dudes out that would get on there.
I
Like,
know.
one
Yeah.
guy said, "Oh, I make 45,000 a year." And he's like, 45, you in Atlanta? He's like, "You better stick to the girl in the drive-through. You ain't getting no six figure." Like, he would make, like, I would tell people, look, I didn't like the scale to 1 to 10 type things, because I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Hmm.
But I told somebody, I said, "You know what? I know I'm not the best looking dude out there." I said, like, if I'm a 4, I'm the best thing on 4 walking around.
I know
You
that's
know,
right.
because what's attractive to some people aren't attractive to
The
others.
others,
And then
exactly.
you have like, you can have a woman that's really beautiful, but her character makes her ugly.
Oh my God, I did a video about that.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's the thing. Like, one thing in my book is like, okay, let's say if a female is a 10, soon as she pull out a cigarette, it immediately drops like 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people don't understand that. And one lady was saying, "Oh, that's wrong. Just because somebody, you can't hold that against them." I said, "So it's okay for women to have standards, but men can't."
No, that's not the, yeah. I
You
agree.
know,
Yeah.
like I know there's I know a female is like 4'7", but she wants somebody that's at least 6'5", and I'm like, you know, like what, you know, it's like you set these standards, and that's where I think, like, you know, sometimes when we have people like Kevin Samuels, and I think there's a female now, this sister that is like doing kind of like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we need to be told, because some of us are living in fantasy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree. I just, like I said, I agreed with some of the things he said. But
Yeah.
like you said, the beauty thing and stuff like that, like just because it wasn't his standard, I mean, it was his opinion. Like, oh, you're a 2 at best or whatever. Like you said, what looks good to somebody, you know, one person might not look good to somebody else. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be up to one person's opinion about how somebody looks. I didn't agree with that. Some of the things he was on point with. Like I said, I'm the type of person that really doesn't have a filter. And so, like, and I believe right is right and wrong is wrong. So, man or woman, if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I don't think that, you know, just because I'm a, you know, and then they say, oh, you're male centered. No, I'm not male centered. I think she's wrong. And I'm going to say she's wrong. You
Yeah.
know, people get upset about that. Women get upset about that.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I can give him credit on, when he would do that, he would at least tell people what his standard was. Like for him, Beyonce was a 9, Rihanna was a 10. Where he related beauty to was when you wore the least amount of makeup.
Mm,
And that's where he was like, when he was like, Kelly Rowland to him was an 8. You know, like he would say certain things, but I think that that's okay. That's his personal opinion. At least he gave his standard, like he gave physical examples.
well, you
And
know what they say about opinions.
oh yeah, but you know that was his.
Yeah, yeah,
Like like I didn't think Rihanna, me personally, I don't see Rihanna as a 10.
yeah.
You know, I'm not saying she's not attractive, but that's not a 10 to me.
Right,
Now, I just think like a lot of women now do things based off of what other women tell them, and they don't even listen to men.
right.
Like, I don't remember the last time that I heard somebody say, "Man, did you see her lashes?" You know, like guys don't talk like we don't care.
Right, right.
That's what women do, you know,
Oh, her
like
eyebrows was on point, man.
men don't care about nails.
Right.
You know, like I have never in my life heard a man say, "Man, did you see her nails,
Uh,
dog?"
Well,
Did you
well, well. Toes.
No,
Toes.
but this is the thing. They don't those things that I mentioned, I've never in my life heard a guy talk about how attracted he was to fingernails, to lashes, to a lot of things.
To the purse she's carrying. I
Yeah,
understand what
like
you're saying.
um
Yeah.
about man, like there's a few guys that are like materialistic, and
Hmm.
they would be like, "Oh man, oh girl, she got her masters and her PhD." But in the guy arena, that's far and few between.
Right. You're right. You're
They
right.
they don't care about that. They're looking for someone that can that they wouldn't mind their mother meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell somebody, if you've been dating somebody and they haven't introduced you to their family in 90 days, you're not the one.
Right.
If they keep you all secret, you're not the one.
Right.
Like you may be there, like you may be denying who is the one because you focusing on the one you want to be the one.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of things that Letitia says some, I guess she talking about brothers. Some brothers have fetishes too.
Feet fetish, yeah.
That may be true, but just like how females will talk about, oh, girl, he bow-legged and he not needed. Like, I don't know what that means, but you know, I used to, you hear aunties and stuff talking. They're like, oh yeah, you see that dude, he not needed and bow-legged. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
like everybody looks, but like I'll hear guys talking about, oh man, she got that donkey. Oh man, it's nice. And I think there was a comedian, I forgot her name, but she was like, you know what? She got a big butt. She can have an eyeball right here. And then she walked past the boys and they like, oh man, you ain't talked to the forehead eye beaded.
Right.
And they're like, but she got a big butt though.
Right,
Like
right.
they, to me, women focus too much on the stuff that guys don't care about.
Right. You're right.
They because I think some women, they'll think, okay, he's gonna like this or he's gonna like that, but do they actually ask them? Like I'll be honest, my wife was when we were getting married, she was like, she sent me a picture of her eyes done up. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, soon as she showed it to me, I was like, no. I said, that is not, you don't even look like you. I said, that's a no-go. Like,
Right,
what, that's not what got you me. Or,
right,
so don't change that up. If anything,
right,
you didn't get, I wasn't attracted to you because of that. I was attracted to you because we've known each other for decades and you've always been the same one.
right,
I've been to a point where I saw how you haven't changed.
right,
That's the attraction.
right.
That's the one because being consistent.
Right.
So that's what
I would.
I just hope that women will listen, like ask what is it that they like, because a lot of times
Well,
it's not that.
right. No, I agree. I agree. And I think that I've met guys where I know that I've on my worst day, like hair in a bun. I don't wear makeup every day anyway. I go makeupless. But hair in a bun, just having the worst day. Like, and guys will still approach. They like the natural look. I can say that. They do like the natural look. But when I'm in a relationship, I definitely ask my dude, like, they'd be like, don't cut your hair. My hair never gets cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, or if I'm gonna trim it, or if I'm gonna get a color, what color do you want? Or if I do, I'm very considerate. I think that's kind of like a respect thing. And if you dressed, and this is just me, if I dressed one way when I was in single, and when you get in a relationship, you kind of got to change that a little bit if you were a little, loose with the clothing.
Oh, if now you see people walking down the street with just tape with a
They look
jacket.
like they're wearing underwear, those little shorts that go straight up the crack. I'm like, what? I don't get it. I don't. I mean, we had Daisy Dukes back in the day, but they weren't all the way up our crack.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I just think that I think on both sides, if they listen a little bit more to the other side, like
Yeah.
really listen, just just having honest conversations. And I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely. Communication is definitely key in any type of beginning of a relationship, during the relationship. Communication is, if you don't have communication, you don't have anything.
oh, definitely. Um, let me see. Letitia said, "My father is why I won't cut my hair. He didn't like women doing that. So now that he is gone, I'm still keeping my promise."
I love
All
that.
right.
I love that.
Yeah, they're I'm still waiting for them. They're supposed to be on the episode. Hint hint. But I really, really appreciate your time and your honesty. And I'm hoping, definitely to have you back. Just want to keep on growing the platform. I would ask anybody
Absolutely.
viewing to hit the thumbs up, subscribe. What I've told somebody, the goal of this podcast is to get people to start talking again.
Yeah.
So many families cut off just because people have different priorities in life. So people are holding it and they're like cutting people off like switches. So
Yeah.
my goal is to get people communicating again, just to have more dialogue, because we talked about red flags, and to me, a big red flag is a person that can't communicate.
Hmm.
If you can't communicate, how do I know, like, how can I improve or how can I get better?
Yeah.
If I don't have that. So I definitely want you to speak on your book again, kind of give a window on it so we can um have you back during the release so we can like talk about the book. And I think if you just take a second to tell the viewers about it again. There were some
Um,
people that wasn't here earlier.
yeah. Thank you, first of all, for having me on. I really enjoyed it. And I appreciate you and all your support that you've given me so far. So thank you. The book is called Product of My Circumstances, and I am self-publishing. So I'm figuring it out. I've never published a book before. So a window, I'm hoping in the next month or couple of weeks. I'm trying to do it quicker than that. I've been working on this book for 23 years. It started as a letter to my mother 8 months after she passed away. So it's really just about my childhood and the things that I went through, and surviving,
Yeah.
living in survival mode, healing, my healing journey, realizing that the things that happened to me in my past was affecting me in adulthood. Um, and just trying to encourage people. If this book can help one person, I hope it helps millions. But like, if this book could help one person, then I've served my purpose. I really believe that people go through things in life to, and they could either let it break them, or they can turn it into something healing and something good. And I just want to help people, to let them know that they're not alone, and that they
Oh,
can make it
definitely.
through.
Yeah, definitely. I know I'm gonna have a signed copy, so
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. But
I appreciate it.
I do want to let everybody know, like, next week we're going to be talking about the separation of growth, and basically, the guest is going to be Cornelius Kirk, and basically we're just going to talk about, like, as you grow, sometimes you have to separate yourself from your circle. Some people aren't meant to be with you
Thank you, Leticia.
through all 4 seasons of your life. So I think it's going to be a really good conversation, and it's going to be dealing with personal growth and separation, and there's also going to deal with separation in a relationship.
Mm,
When you're growing apart, can it be something to where you guys are realigned or not? So I
that's gonna
think
be a
we're
good one.
definitely, yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. And as each episode tend to improve, y'all excuse a lot of the bugs and stuff. I'm still working on everything,
Listen,
but
we're all a work in progress, and especially when we start something new. I think you got something great here. So,
I appreciate you. But y'all
yeah.
have a good evening, and I'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everybody.